Hi, everyone. Welcome to Capital Region Executive Women in Bio's virtual workshop series on personal branding for board candidates, presented by Kelly Wang. I'm Neo Gamo. I'm the chair of the EWIP committee for the Capital Region chapter, and I'll be moderating today's session. Before we get into this session, I'd like to give you an overview of Women in Bio and the Capital Region chapter. Women in Bio is an organization of professionals committed to promoting careers, leadership, and entrepreneurship for all women in the life sciences. Women in Bio was founded in 2002, and the Capital Region chapter was founded in 2011, originally as the national headquarters of Women in Bio. Women in Bio provides a continuity of support from classroom to boardroom, academia to industry, first job to last, and from idea to entrepreneur. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Kelly Wang. Kelly's an executive leadership coach with over 20 years of experience in teaching, B2B marketing, and management consulting. She started her board journey back in 2006 when she joined a 4-person mutual fund board, and she's currently serving on the scientific advisory board for Eagle Genomics in the UK. She's also served as the co-chair for Women in Bio's Boardroom Ready program in 2019. While she continues to advocate for gender equity and boardroom diversity, she's active in contributing to the Forbes Coaching Council and teaching at UCSD. This is the third of 5 virtual sessions, with each session consisting of a group session followed by breakout sessions. While all the group sessions are open to everyone, if you'd like to attend the breakout sessions, please try to commit to attending at least 4 of the 5 sessions. So now I will hand it over to Kelly. And Kelly, I will put up your slides.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Neo. And I'm so glad you're all here to continue to learn about how to build the foundation of your personal brand. And so in the first session, we went over how to think about those important values and what I call North Stars in guiding your purpose and mission, right? What you have always held true to yourself. And in the last session, session number 2, we got to experience the amazing power of imagination, thanks to Clarissa's introduction about how to tap into your inspire actions and to create that future version of yourself. And then today we're getting ready to roll up our sleeves and build the elevator pitch and to find a way to frame your bio with the simple framework that I found, and also discover ways to tell your stories. So we'll have that first breakout session, depending on how many people are here. And then the second one might be optional. So and also in terms of questions, I will stop at various points to take your questions, but feel free to chat them in, and then we'll monitor those and make sure I get to answer them. So to start out, I know last time we talked about the future self, and recently I came across this great story from Indra Nooyi about how her mother at the dinner table would ask her and her sister to give a big speech as if they were the Prime Minister of India, as if they were someone important. And the other interesting anecdote about that, Indra Nooyi also related the fact that her mother still wished for the arranged marriage, but yet was able to guide, her daughters towards that future versions, right? To manifest that best versions of themselves. And so I want to encourage you, despite whatever cultural, boxes that you came with, despite whatever people have been telling you what you should or shouldn't do, we always can tap into that imagination, right? And the inspired action to dream bigger. So that's the story that was really inspiring to me about Indra Nooyi, the former PepsiCo CEO. But the other one I also heard recently was from Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank. And she also talked about, this is on CNBC, about how you need to dream big as women. Because you may have heard the famous story that when she first auditioned for Shark Tank, they turned her down. But she did not take that no for an answer, right? She actually wrote back to the producers and told them all the reasons why they should hire her back. And so lo and behold, right, look at where she is now. So again, I want to encourage you not to say no to yourself before anybody else, because that's the best thing we can do, right? To allow our imagination and our future selves to fully realize. Okay, so next slide. So I have a trivia quiz here. Does anybody know which song was the most popular song from an Australian band? Is it A, Men at Work, B, In Excess? So the band, right? Not the song. C, Little River Band, or D, AC/DC? A, B, C, or D? Does anybody know? Anybody who's like music fans? D, okay. AC/DC? A, maybe. So the clue is in the music sheet that I share. So the most popular export song from Australia is Reminiscing. And what I like about the story, what I heard about the songwriter, so the correct answer is C, Little River Band. The songwriter was actually imagining as if he lived in the 30s and 40s and went to the Cole Porter Band concerts, and how, he thought about being with his dream girl and dreaming the future. So it's kind of like a combination of nostalgia, but at the same time, future envisioning. And I think what I love is that, when I think about different artists, they have a way of blending the past, present, and future, right? Think of these different movies like Inception, or like I said, with this song. Somehow in your imagination, you can travel from the past to the future, or even Back to the Future, the movie, right? There are ways we can kind of bring all three together. So that's the framework I'm going to share with you today about how to, integrate, right? Your past experiences, your present value in terms of your North Star, and then your future potential. Next slide, please. So from our last exercise, I asked you to look at this, list of 100 jobs, right? And so I started asking that question already. Were there themes that came up for you? And then feel free to ask me questions about it. We'll take some time to answer, whether you did it or not. Ask away in terms of why we're doing that and what kind of themes came up for you. And if there are any images of those of you that, were more kind of visual minded, right? Because I asked you to think about maybe even using a vision board in terms of coming up with a future version of yourself. Does anybody want to chime in either on the chat or raise your hand about the 100 job exercise? Rifat, maybe I'll pick on you since you did answer earlier. So you mentioned a diplomat, right? Called out to you. What were the emotions that came up? Is it like a curiosity? Maybe tapping into your inner child? What came up?
The emotions that came up were more aspirational and higher achievement.
Yes.
And being in a place where I could be more of a leader, more of an influencer, and more of it was very aspirational, but it was also, I could see that being a diplomat is not what I have ever thought of being. But when I saw the list, that popped out like that. I could have been a diplomat because of all my skills and personalities that I have now, but it never would have occurred to me earlier in my career, or now it's too late, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to chime in? Kayla? Sorry, Katya.
Yes, thank you very much, Kelly. I can. And I'm sorry, I was just a couple of minutes late to the conversation, but I'll say what I picked off the list, I guess, first, right? So I was going through the list of occupations and getting quite discouraged because nothing spoke to me. Entrepreneur did. But then in the end, when I got to city planner, I got so happy. It was purely emotional. I
right.
never thought of city planning career. Nothing was talking to me until this number 72. And then all of a sudden, I just on the emotional level, not intellectual, not anything else, I realized that I would be so happy doing this. And when I started to deconstruct this intellectually, I understood why. Like all these things that I do well, that really bring joy, that people comment on, my capability and capacity, like doing complex problem solving, multitasking, doing this diversity and putting people, systems, technology together to function in that all, and also sustainability that you can add to the system. So that this ended up as a very happy exercise for me.
I'm glad you guys are talking about the emotional piece of it, because that's very much what I was hoping would happen in terms of that future envisioning, because you do need to tap into those emotions, as Clarissa advised for us to do, and also the inspire actions, right? As you were saying, being able to plan, or for Rifat to be able to be in that leadership position, right? It's tapping into a different part of yourself that I think is key to this exercise. Okay, let me get to Famida, please, if you want to unmute.
Yeah, hi. So the things that jumped out to me were two. One was TV talk show host, and the other was actor. And it's interesting because I really enjoy public speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. I like if I could do that as a job. Like Tony Robbins is somebody that I am very jealous of because I feel like he has my career. But so I think that is I enjoy I've taught and things like that, and I've enjoyed teaching mainly because it allows me to be in this position of basically being able to talk to a large group and actually convey the message and make sure that I'm engaging folks, because I feel like there's a lot of changes that a person can deploy in that state, right? Like I always remember, like, my one teacher, she was a biochemistry teacher that I had in my final year. And the reason like my entire class ended up picking biochemistry as a major for their masters because of her, because she was so passionate and she loved teaching so much that we all got so excited about biochemistry because of her, right? So that's like it's very powerful that if you are in that space and if you can effect that change, there's a lot that we can do by doing that. And I feel like those two jumped out at me because I feel like there's a lot that you can accomplish in that role, like get to a much wider group of people.
And a big part of leadership is inspiration, right? What you described about that teacher, she inspired all of you.
Yeah.
And of course, then you multiply out that inspiration, right? Further out. All right, let me make sure to take one more, Wanda, and then we'll get to the rest of the content today.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I'm with Famida. I chose TV talk show host. Slightly different reason. I don't enjoy public speaking, actually. But I do have a deep interest in people and their motivations, and I'm just curious. And I think stories from other people really can inspire and empower others. So that's the reason why I picked it. And I will say this. My mother actually, when I chose the path of pharmacy instead of the arts and communications, my mom said, "Oh, I always thought you'd be someone like Oprah." And I just said to her, "Sorry to disappoint you, Mom." But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So thank you
I
for
hope
letting
there's
me
a
share
future
that story.
Oprah in you, Wanda.
What did you say?
I hope there's a future Oprah in you.
Not if I can get over my fear of public speaking.
Yes, yes. Well, again, I think what's great, even from the Indra Nui story about the mom kind of rooting them in the reality, well, you're going to get an arranged marriage, but don't forget to dream, right? So again, our parents may have done that with us, like be practical, but I love the fact that her mother still encouraged her to dream big. Okay, on that, I'm going to go into our next part of the review. So those of you that have done your values wheel, I want to encourage you to at least think about all the values that are important to you, right? So I heard a couple already from doing that 100 jobs exercise to inspire people to, make a bigger impact, right? So in that inner circle, when you capture, hey, I'm trying to make an impact here, I'm trying to serve this type of audience, do that next part of the wheel in terms of who you're trying to impact. Who is it? Is it other women in your company? Is it your children? Is it a marginalized group? Is it, other moms like yourself? I want to encourage you to think about who else benefits when you're able to really dive into, the values that are important to you and you see yourself making that impact. I think that also helps in bringing that together, right? In terms of, okay, here are what's important to me. Here are those aspirational values that are important to me. And that next layer is who are the people I hope to impact. So I want to encourage you, that's the the bonus or advanced work if you want to continue on that path to better refine your wheel and think about the impact you are trying to make. Okay, so next slide. So just to recap where we are, right? I'm looking at step 3 today. So as I said, we started out with the aligning the values in terms of defining your why. And then last week was the ambition, right? What it is you want to aspire to. And then today we're finally at the what I call approach, landing the plane. So because you're able to see kind of the present version versus the aspirational version, what are some of the gaps that you might still need to fill? And then as I said about that special skill in terms of being able to bring the present, future, present selves all together, that's what we're trying to do. Next slide. So the approach, right? And this is, so marketing speak on the right. So this is something I teach over and over about go to market, right? You need to define your product, which is the product of you, right? The product of Wanda, the product of Amita, the product of Katya. And then we're trying to figure out the target market too, right? Who is it? Is it a board position? Is it a private board? Is it, the next promotion you want to aim for? Is it another industry even if you're considering a career pivot? So that target audience is part of the work and this landing the approach. But at the same time, you're trying to do the targeting, right? You're trying to look at the product of you and then targeting your messages to better communicate to that target market. And then in doing so, you're also trying to figure out the price, not so much. I mean, that's probably the salary negotiation piece or how much you want to, get paid for, right? For sitting on a board. But then the promotion, right? Today I'm talking about product and promotion coming together to really dive into the targeting that you're trying to do. And then place is having to do with distribution. Where you're going to distribute your brand messaging. So it could be social media, could be writing letters to people that are sitting on boards. So that we'll talk about in next week's session in terms of networking. So on the left, I want to focus your attention on the tricky thing about elevator pitches. They need to be short and concise, right? And so I know a lot of times I've seen, and I've done this myself, that we give a quick elevator pitch, who I am, my title, where I'm from, that's it, right? But I think we're missing an opportunity to talk about what I call your brand promise. So if you look at this equation, right? So I mentioned already the conciseness. We need to take the 20 years, boil it down to 2 paragraphs. So that's more your bio, into 2 sentences, right? That's more of your elevator pitch. So to pitch is to talk about your strengths, right? So that would be the past track record, all your experiences, which allows me to deliver this benefit to you, right? So I've done all this. I'm here to deliver this. And then the third part is where I see a lot of people missing the opportunity to give the boards or your manager or your future employer your brand promise. So that's talking about your potential. Because inevitably in leadership coaching, what I've seen time and time again, women are kind of looked at for all your track record and experiences, but then somehow our potential isn't being, how would I say it? People don't assume you have potential, right? You kind of have to keep doing the work, keep showing that you have merit, whereas, you know, maybe a different candidate, a male candidate comes along, that person looks a lot like the CEO, that person, you know, talks the same lingo as the selections committee, and the potential is assumed. Whereas we can't take that for granted. We have to figure out our own story. And as I said the last 2 times already, because of gender bias, people tend to fill in the blanks for us. So be sure that your brand promise is something you're intentionally building and that you're delivering. So let me tell you more about that. Next slide. So what's a brand promise, right? So I have the definition here, but again, you know, you probably, so in marketing speak, there's something called a tagline, and then there's something called a brand promise, right? So taglines, I think, is something you probably have heard from all the different brands, right? Like Nike is just do it. Or at one point, I think Apple had think different. So I have kind of a little case study right here. So I live in San Diego, but a lot of the ads from LA kind of filter down here, all these lawyers, right, that are chasing, they're called ambulance chasers. So one of which does this big old billboard that says, "Who hurt you?" Right? And then there's another one I see on the ads all the time called, "We're the Law Brothers." So which one is delivering a brand promise? The one on top or the one on the bottom? Oh, Famita, you have your hands raised.
Are you asking which one is
Yeah. Which one do you
brand
see?
promise or
Yeah, which one is delivering a brand
tagline?
promise? Yeah. Is
I
it
think
the,
We Are the Law Brothers is a tagline. It's
Yes.
not telling you anything.
Yes. Right? So I think that's the genius of that "Who hurt you?" Even though I don't like these lawyer ads, they're so annoying. But that one stood out to me. But what do you think, Famita, since I have you on there? What do you think is the promise in saying "Who hurt you"?
Well, it says underneath award-winning accident attorney.
And also they're going to help you, right?
Right.
They care.
Right.
Right? By asking "Who hurt you?"
Yeah.
Underneath that is that they care.
Right.
And I think that's the key difference between a tagline, which a lot of people have, right? I'm the best lawyer. I'm going to do this, this, and this for you, versus the "Who hurt you" is actually a brand promise. Does that make sense? Does anybody have a question on that? Anybody else? Oh, neither. No, I think the "Who hurt you" is the brand promise. But obviously there are some audiences they're never going to reach, right? Okay, so if there aren't any questions, I'll dive into further in terms of how you deliver your own brand promise. So next slide. So as I said, right, when we give an introduction, we usually have a chance to talk about who you are, right? Who you are, that's your present. And then you get to the, oh, here's all the things I've done before. But then most importantly, the brand promise is about the future, right? And so this article, which the source is right there from Harvard Business Review, the simple way to think about how you introduce yourself is to talk about your present, who I am, right? And then all your track record, your past, but then think really clearly about your future potential. And even at the simplest, think about when you give an introduction at any meeting that you've been to recently. Have any of you talked about your future?
No.
Thank you for that. So that's the missed opportunity, right? That's the missed opportunity. So, okay, let me get to the next slide. So remember that I think it was in session 1, I mentioned this CAN framework. So it's very similar again, right? You talk about your history, so that's your past experiences, your values, what I call your North Star, right? Your ever-present values, what do you stand for? But then the potential is what I hope in the last session in envisioning yourself, in thinking about those inspired actions, in understanding the emotions that brings up in you, that I hope you can better deliver, right? Deliver that brand promise in terms of, like I said, whether that's a board seat, when you talk about what I'm here to deliver, that can be your future potential. If you're talking about a new job, not only are you talking about your qualifications and what you're capable of doing, you should give them a sense of the potential, right? If I'm in that job, I can deliver this. So that's kind of the future. Sorry, let's start with present, past, then future. Okay, next one. So this is something that I've seen, again, right, with the elevator pitches. So diving into elevator pitches, on the left, you see kind of that conciseness piece, right? I help, right? I help, boards achieve whatever, better cybersecurity, vigilance. I help companies, achieve whatever results that you're specializing in without negative consequences. So that's your future, right? That's your potential that you're delivering. So for example, here, the one that's being used, so this is a communication coach. She says, I help nervous presenters confidently present anything without rambling or freezing. So that is the promise, right? Her brand promise is, I help you present without rambling or freezing. And then that third one is, I help my business build brand awareness and grow revenues without increasing marketing and promotional budgets, right? So you're talking about maximizing the marketing benefits, right? Without adding more costs, without adding more resources. So that's the promise, right? And then furthermore, there's more about, like, here, like the filling the blanks, right? If you want to keep working on your elevator pitch, try filling the blanks with different verbs, different descriptions. And then even in your LinkedIn, you can add, right, these achievements in such a way that you're making use of the present, past, future framework. Okay, so that's kind of what we're getting at. Next slide. So in our breakout group, what I like you to do is give an intro about yourself using this framework. And since I think this is a very safe space, don't worry about not doing it right. Don't worry about you don't have it exactly the way you want it. I just want you guys to try do this framework, right? Hi, I am Kelly. I've been an executive leadership coach for 20 years, and I'm here to help you figure out how to develop your personal brand.